Welcome to another uplifting episode of Echo This, an hour of empowering conversations of hope and opportunity. Today, our show's topic is Unboxed, the surprising health benefits of curiosity and exploration. I'm Debi Wimberley and will be your moderator today, and joined by my colleagues. Lisa, will you kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and then throw it over to Amy?
Sure, I'd love to. I am Lisa Jones, an author, speaker, and consultant with over 2 decades of experience in leveraging humor, gamification, and play to enhance collaboration, engagement, and productivity. And over to you, Amy.
I'm Amy Weishaus, and I am a lifelong educator and learner. I bring years of teaching to the platform with a very firm belief that I attempted every day to live to the fullest, to practice empathy and to create empathy in my students, to carry over into the best possible health and world that we could possibly imagine.
And I'm Debi Wimberley, navigating health and enhancing quality of life through education, research, and advocacy on the endocannabinoid system and its importance in overall well-being. My mission is to equip individuals with the knowledge and the tools to make informed, mindful decisions that improve health outcomes. So let's unbox curiosity and embark on a journey of exploration. For many, this may be the first time hearing about curiosity and exploration and how it can significantly improve health. Curiosity might not be the first thing that pops in your head when thinking about health, but it's a powerful tool for discovery and growth. Today, we'll dive into how fostering a curious mindset can lead to a surprising and transformation in health benefits. So our first question, we're going to talk about echoing the hope. So let's crack open that curiosity box. What makes you curious about your health and why? Can you share a story about a time when curiosity led to a positive experience in your journey, Lisa?
Well, I would love to do that, Debbie. Thank you so much. So let me take you on a journey. Let's go back to my childhood, a time when my curiosity about my health was sparked by some rather mysterious and sneeze-inducing events. So, if you can only imagine little Lisa, she sneezed her way through life like a tiny human pepper shaker. My parents and I had no clue what was going on. So, we embarked on a medical adventure. We bounced from one doctor to another like we were on a bizarre medical tour. We saw so many doctors, I started thinking we should collect stamps from each one of them, like it was my special health passport. But finally, our curiosity paid off when we landed at an allergy specialist office. After what felt like a million tests, we discovered that I, yes, little Lisa, was allergic to practically everything under the sun: dust, pollen, cats, people, you name it. With that knowledge, we could finally take steps to manage my allergies thanks to our relentless curiosity and that curious allergy specialist. I could sneeze a little less and enjoy life a little more. But wait, the saga doesn't end there. Enter my left knee, the drama queen of body parts. Every so often it would start hurting for no apparent reason. We went through the whole detective routine again, visiting doctors who poked, prodded, and shrugged their shoulders in confusion. Despite our best efforts, the mystery of the aching knee remains unsolved. To this day, Debbie, I still don't know why it happens. It's like having a tiny, unpredictable meteorologist in my leg that likes to forecast occasional pain. But through all of this, my curiosity about my health has never waned. It taught me the importance of not giving up and always seeking answers. Plus, it gave me some entertaining stories to share, some of which I just shared with you. So if you ever find yourself on a health mystery tour, remember, a curious mind and a sense of humor can turn even the sneeziest, achiest situations into an adventure worth remembering.
I love that, Lisa, and I really want to start incorporating stickers at my doctor's office so that I can get a sticker for everything that I'm curious about and looking to learn from, and the amount of doctors that I see. So I think
Yes.
we should all be promoting that to our doctors from now on. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Amy, can you share a little bit of your curiosity with us?
Well, it's interesting, but I have a big synchronicity with Lisa. I didn't know this about the allergies. And living in a very heavily wooded and dense area in New York, state, outside of the city, the pollen, the ragweed, every day on the news, it was the pollen count, what the pollen count was. And I had the worst hay fever, the worst ever. And it was a lot of suffering. But that health issue, which we overcame in a similar way to Lisa's, with the doctors and the different kinds of testing, that turned out to be the least of my problems, actually, as difficult as it was. I have to say my curiosity about my health began with terrible dysfunction and feeling in my body that things were terrible. I was having pain. I had constant bloody diarrhea. I was just fatigued. And here I am trying to do my schoolwork at 19, and my health was in the pits. But what did I think? Well, I figured in my less curious moments, I thought maybe it's the college food. Maybe it's the dining room food. And that's why I have such gastric distress. But unfortunately, I was led to start being more curious about what was going on. I was in a college town. My parents were very dedicated workers who couldn't take time off from their jobs. And I basically was thrust into a position of independently being on my own and having to be curious and having to become my own health advocate, knowing zero about anything about my body. So I found myself terribly, I say my wings were clipped. This wonderful college social experience. I couldn't go out having pizza with the others. I could forget having any alcohol or experimenting with anything. Kept me safe because my health was not so hot. Dating was a fear. Sitting on a cold slab of bleachers at a football game, that was totally out of the question. So my curiosity had to really start with saying, what is going on? I found myself with a doctor in the local town, the college town. I'll have more about that episode later, much more to tell about that experience, which was very negative. So I think if I had been more curious, and I was in a good way because I had to be, I had no choice. I had to start going to doctors to get to the bottom of my situation, which eventually was diagnosed as ulcerative colitis on steroids. And well, I meant a serious case, but of course I was treated with steroids also. But I think I needed to be more curious about what resources were available to me. I didn't know a single classmate or person in this whole university campus. I didn't seek out who else has my issue, who else is coping with this. I hid it. I hid it as best I could, not so well from my dorm mates, but I became isolated in my opportunity to be more curious. And I realize now that if I had had one other colleague, one other person, a collegiate, somebody there to support me in talking about our horror stories, I think my curiosity would have been doubled in our combined approach in figuring out our own dilemma. So that's my story.
Thank you, Amy. And I find it very interesting that we all had serious allergies when we were younger. And I'm surprised, kind of surprised we didn't all land on that one for this topic. For me, I became a very curious little girl very early on, thanks to my parents. And that's because my family has a hereditary blood disorder called thalassemia. And there are two types. There's a major and there's a minor. And no one really knew much about it. You got to remember, this was back in the 1960s when my parents were talking about this, and it impacted a number of my family members. So now you got to think of me as little Alice in Wonderland and always being curious and always asking lots of questions, sometimes nonstop. And I was always asking to understand more about thalassemia and what was it. And unfortunately, we knew very little about it back then. We still don't know a lot about it today, but we knew very little bit about it back then. And so, because of that curiosity, it drove me to become a medical technologist, to work in the lab and to study blood and to try to understand why I, I was born with this disorder, why my dad had it. It didn't make sense because not everyone in our family had it. So that curiosity led me down a path of understanding how to look at blood, how to examine it. But fortunately, because I had that curiosity, all of that led me to where I am now today. When doctors told me that I had at the most 5 years to live with MAC lung disease, and look at me now. That was 9 years ago. And I'm living life that I never thought I would live. And because of that curiosity, I learned about the endocannabinoid system and medical cannabis. And I learned to apply it to my health. And all because my doctors abandoned me and stopped treating me. So they gave me permission to go off and become more curious. And so, if you are someone that's struggling with serious health issues, I recommend that you become real curious and that you should be looking for alternative methods. Don't just put your health in the hands of someone else to trust and to guide you, because sometimes it doesn't work out. And the most important person in your health is you. You need to be at the center of it. We've been trained to hand it over to someone else, and it's time that we stop that. So I hope today you'll take a few moments and sit down and examine where you are with your health and see what maybe you can do to go explore a new avenue. All right, let's see about hopping into this next question. We're going to talk about echoing the opportunity. So you tapped into your curiosity as a secret wellness superpower, Lisa. What advice would you give to someone else to cultivate a curious mind towards their health and well-being?
Well, great question, Debbie. One of the things that I would do, that I would suggest, is to take an inventory of the status quo of your health. Start there. And you could do it Sherlock Holmes style. And you become this health detective and you cultivate a curious mindset. And the first step is really to think of it as your personal health report card. Ask questions like, how's your energy level? Do you feel like a superhero or more like a sleepy sloth? That's a good question. What's your sleep like? Are you a snoring symphony or a blissful dreamer? And don't forget to check in on your body's quirky parts, like my unpredictable left knee, which enjoys surprise guest appearances with random aches. That's number one. Number two, ask questions, lots of them. Why do you feel like a certain way after eating? What's causing that afternoon slump? Channel your inner 5 year old and keep asking why until you start uncovering some answers. Remember, curiosity didn't kill the cat, it just made it a lot smarter about its health. And number three, experiment and explore. Try new activities, try new foods and routines. Ever wonder if yoga could be your thing? Or if that green smoothie tastes as good as it looks on Instagram? Give it a whirl. Just like a scientist in a lab. Keep track of what works and what doesn't. If you find something that makes you feel awesome, keep it in your health toolkit. And then number four, don't shy away from the health professionals. Just like my journey through the land of doctors for my allergies and my mystery knee, sometimes you need expert help to solve your health puzzles. Be proactive about seeking advice and getting regular checkups. Think of doctors as your health sidekicks. They have the tools and knowledge to help you on your quest. And then number five, I think the most important one, make it fun. Curiosity doesn't have to be all serious and scientific. You can turn it into a game. You can set challenges for yourself, like trying a healthy new recipe each week or seeing how many steps you can take in a day. Celebrate your discoveries and progress, no matter how small. Health should be an adventure, not a chore. So I would encourage everyone, Debbie, to grab your magnifying glass, put on your detective hat, and dive into the fascinating world of your health with curiosity and a big smile. Your body will thank you for it, and who knows, you might just uncover the secrets to feeling your absolute best, right?
Absolutely. I think this is someplace we're going to all kind of land on is about this question, why? So thank you for doing that. And I like that you say keep working, keep knowledge of what's happening, understanding what's happening with you, but also remember you need to write it down because maybe 6 months from now you won't remember it. So it's keeping track of it in a journal or in something that you can recall because not all memories we can keep all the things that are affecting us. So thank you for that. So Amy, where can you find give advice to someone on this?
Well, so many of our experiences dovetail with one another, and there are so many kind of integral similarities, and it's indicative of the fact that we're all on this universal journey for wellness our entire lives, from the minute we take our first breath until our last. And my greatest advice, based on something I alluded to earlier about the isolation of not being curious among a network of people, but I was curious to, ask about, well, what doctor do I see, and ask the doctor questions. But it's so important to have a support group. Find a support group. There's a lot you can do on your own. Yes, you can go on YouTube's and find how to dress a wound, how to do almost anything online. I didn't know right away that there were YouTubes about how to change an ostomy pouch. I didn't know that until I was well into the process. There's so much online. There are books to read, and there are things you can do in isolation. But my biggest advice is find a support group, find a network. Hopefully it's bigger than just one person, but that'll do to start, because it takes a little bit of getting accustomed to being transparent and sharing some very intimate things about one's health. My first experience with a support group, I was a little intimidated. I thought I was entering some kind of cult. I thought this is going to be very unusual. And the minute I walked in, I felt I was home. I was in a safe place. I could be curious and not worry about asking ridiculous or embarrassing questions. I'll never forget seeing this beautiful, lovely, pixie looking, adorable, attractive, vivacious young woman. And she said, "Oh, I had my surgery when I was in my 20s." And now she's 60. And I'm looking at her and I'm saying, wow, what a role model. Maybe I can be like her. And seeing the longevity that she had of 40 years since her surgery, I was just ecstatic. So I had so many questions, but I wasn't afraid. I saw positive answers and positive results. And I'll never forget, and it is kind of humorous how we have to make the best of our fear and our ignorance at first. And this one man came over and sees a new person in the group, and he says, "And it never hurt my sex life any." I looked at him like, okay, too much information. But that was how relaxed, how open, and almost joyful finding that place was. It was very important. So I could start asking questions about diet and things that nobody else who had a normal gut system would know. So please join a group and give it time, give it an opening, because even for mental health, I've heard of people who were recently widowed or lost a spouse and went to a bereavement group and went one time and said, "I'll never go back to that again. Everybody's so bitter," and just closing down on something, that's about health too. But you have to, it could be different people in the group, a different strand of communication. You're in a better mood or place in that moment. So don't zone out and condemn something or judge it on your first try. That doesn't serve anybody. So join, network, and thrive.
Thank you, Amy. I think it's really important to understand that there's a lot of support groups out there. So if you find one that doesn't work for you, find another one. Don't think you have to stick with that one. But finding yourself in a community where you feel comfortable to talk about serious health conditions is really important. And it's something we don't do enough of today. Let's explore like a kid. Let's replace fear with curiosity. When you're told that you have a serious health condition, or even if it's a minor health condition, there's this fear that starts to bubble up and you don't know what it means and you want to know. So I want you to go back and think about being a kid and exploring. Kids don't have fear. They just run towards whatever it is and they start, asking that what, why questions. And so allow yourself to go there. And like Lisa said, make note of what you're seeing. So sit with yourself and understand where your health is today and what inventory of it. Is it good? And what is it that you don't like? And when you're journaling, remember to journal about what you do have that's good today and what isn't. Because we seem to let what's going on bad overcloud what is good. So there is good parts that are happening as well. So it's time to take a real good inventory of you. So take the moment and sit down and highlight what you like about where your health is and then what's bothersome today. And it could change every day, but take that time to explore who you are because no one lives your health or your life but you. And think a minute about the thoughts that you have on a daily basis. You can have over 50,000 thoughts a day, and some of them serve you well, and some of them don't. And I find in general, when we're talking about health, there's a lot of thoughts that roll around in our mind that don't serve us well. So allow yourself to sit and think about those thoughts and throw out the ones that do not serve you. You have the right to decide how you want to feel and think today. It's all up to you. So moving into echoing the laughter, here's a fun one. How can being curious about what makes us laugh connect better with ourselves and improve our health? Can you laugh alone, Lisa?
Can you laugh alone? Well, I definitely think that exploring what makes us laugh is like discovering a treasure chest of joy. When we dive into our sense of humor, we learn about what truly makes us happy, whether it's slapstick comedy, witty wordplay, or cat videos. Knowing what tickles our funny bone connects us to our true selves. And laughter is a natural stress buster because it releases endorphins, those feel good chemicals, and it also lowers our stress hormones. Plus, it gives your heart a mini workout and can even give your abs a bit of exercise depending on how hard you're laughing. So, who needs crunches when you've got comedy, is what I like to say. And yes, Debbie, you can laugh alone. Ever chuckled at a funny memory or show by yourself, just sitting there? It's liberating and pure joy. Laughing alone connects you with your playful inner child and reminds you that happiness doesn't need an audience. No, it doesn't. To bring more laughter into your life, be curious about what makes you laugh. Keep a laugh journal. Seek out humor in your daily routine and don't be afraid to be silly. Laughter connects us all. So embrace it and let it lead you to a healthier, happier you.
Thanks, Lisa. I love that. Let laughter be the workout your abs need. I like that.
Yeah.
um, and I like the laugh journal. So while you're creating a health journal, why don't you create a laugh journal? And hopefully that laugh journal will make that health journal become much better. So I like that as well. So Amy, can you laugh alone?
Oh, absolutely. I think laughing alone is good practice. It's good training ground for the joy of that, that kind of like saying to yourself, I don't believe I'm laughing out loud over this. I must look like an idiot. But there are times when I know every single day, it's like the universe is saying, you have to laugh. You got to see this. And I can think of one in particular. Now, this is without any effort on my part. I'm just holding my phone and something pops up and it's saying, laugh, girl, laugh. This is your opportunity. There's this one little girl that keeps popping up and she's a toddler. And every day she's dressed in some kind of fashionista outfit with a pocketbook and a hat or, something like she just came out of Vogue magazine. But the way everything is tailored to her, like a miniature model, it's hysterical because she's so innocent to how she's coming across. And it's quite funny. And I always get a kick out of it. I think we have to approach every day. I like Lisa's idea of laugh journal. And I think we could learn how to tell jokes. We could even, with our families, share on our phones every day, share a joke a day with each other. I really think that when we share a joke or funny story, don't you think when you're listening to the person, you're learning a lot about that person? And what that person thinks is funny, you may not think is funny. And you're looking like, okay. And then often we say, well, you had to be there, right? So I think that also sharpens our ability to verbalize and to create a scene and to get to the essence of just how funny it was. So I'm thinking that if we wake up every day and you don't get these feeds from your phone, that it's almost like enforced laughter. I think just wake up with the mindset, what's going to be funny today? How can I create a funny moment? Maybe there's an opportunity for it at a luncheon or whatever. And I should add, I said I had no comrade in misery over ulcerative colitis in college. But it turns out I had a very exacerbated case of Crohn's disease. It wasn't until I was 55 years old that I had lunch with the facilitator of our support group. And that one was for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. And when I found my tribe and I found my support group and I found Lynn, that was the first, it was mind-boggling. That was the first time in 55 years that I ever sat down with somebody curious to know, does this happen to you? How did you deal with this? What can you tell me about that? Oh my goodness, you were diagnosed at 10? What was that like? I was 19. At least I had my elementary childhood years. And I eked out high school, but you were on Moonface and prednisone at 10. Oh my goodness, did I have questions? But all I remember about that lunch we had together was we did not stop laughing. We did not stop laughing. It was such a release, such an exploration, and such a joy for me. So yes, laugh alone, laugh in twosomes, laugh every chance you get. I believe that's the greatest life-giving force that we can muster.
Thank you, Amy. I think laughter is such an powerful tool when it comes to our health, and finding someone that you can share that laughter with in those serious and important times is really important. So I hope that anyone that's struggling with a health issue right now will find someone to help them laugh. And I love that you brought up using your phone. We have so much technology today that provides us with resources for laughter. So you don't have to look very far to find it. And if nothing else, call on us. We'll be there. So laughter for me is, and even working out this, how I was going to think about answering this question today has sent me off laughing a lot. And I'm going to take us back to when I was a little kid. And I was born with asthma and had it really bad. And so my parents were trying everything under the sun to try to help me get through my asthma and be able to breathe better. And one day my mom comes in with this little puppy. And she says, this little puppy is here to help you with your asthma. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You got to realize my mom had always said, there's no way we're ever going to have an inside dog. And then we named it Buster. So Buster was going to help me with my asthma. And so I found myself reciting everything that was happening at that time. And asthma is like the number one condition that, according to the doctors and respiratory health, that people have. And so back in the day, there were so many myths of things that you could try. And believe me, my parents tried them all. And it's really funny that we went on that journey together as a family, exploring and being curious about all of those, trying to figure out what would help. And just let you know, a dog named Buster or any other thing that's a Chihuahua cannot help you get rid of your asthma. It's not something that's going to happen. But the fun part about it is I got to have a new dog. And now I get to laugh about all the things that my parents did with me in trying to do this. So they were the ones that taught me to be curious. They taught me from a very young age to try different things and explore different things. So when somebody says I'm a little bit like Alice in Wonderland, that explains why. And I'm so thankful that I have these stories to tell and that I can laugh about it today. So if you have a moment, allow yourself to be that little kid again. I'm going to keep coming back to that. And think about things that happened in your life when you were small. And how did they impact you? And where can you find the fun and laughter in that? When you're living with serious health conditions, it's hard to find laughter sometimes, but it's so important. And sometimes it's going back and looking at the things that your parents did or things that occurred when you were small that really do give you the permission and the access to laugh, because sometimes it's really difficult to find them. So, regardless of your health, educate yourself, research, and understand the difference between scientifically backed treatments and myths, because it's much easier today to find resources than it was in the 1960s. Curiosity and exploration provides hope and opportunities to laugh when you unbox yourself. So now we're going to go into the enigma question, echoing the enigma. When curiosity isn't cute, can you share an experience where your health was met with negativity, and how did you handle it? And would you handle it different today? Lisa?
Would I handle it differently today? Well, let me take you back to when I was a curious teen. I was staring at this mole that was on my face, and it seemed to grow bigger every day. It bothered me so much that I finally asked my mom if we could get it checked out. Her response, "Oh, that mole makes you look more beautiful." Now, I love my mom, but at that moment, her well-meaning comment felt like a brush off. I wanted reassurance, not a beauty tip. Despite feeling dismissed, I persisted. I kept bringing it up, explaining my concerns until we finally went to see a dermatologist. Turns out, my curiosity was spot on. I ended up getting that mole removed, and it was a huge relief. Today, I'd handle it with even more confidence. I've learned that it's crucial to advocate for your health, even when met with well meaning but unhelpful responses. Thanks, Mom. If I were that teenager now, I gently insist on seeing a dermatologist, explaining that while I appreciate the compliment, my concern is about health, not appearance. Handling negativity about health curiosity is all about persistence and clarity. It's okay to seek second opinions or to push for answers that give you peace of mind. But remember, your health is worth it, and sometimes you must be your own biggest advocate, mole and all.
Your biggest advocate is the number one thing that will guide you the best when it takes taking care of your health. So thanks for adding that in, Lisa. So Amy, can you echo your where you are with the enigma?
A haunting memory that still brings up a lot of emotion for me is that doctor in that college town who did some surgery. And then in the follow-up, as he was dressed in his tennis shorts and looked like he was ready to go to the court, I'll never forget that image. I was asking some questions, quite a few questions. And at one point, the doctor said, when are you going to stop being the doctor and be the patient? Like, shut up, you're talking too much. Well, you can imagine how that stopped me and it silenced me. And he proceeded to tell me, by the way, when we were operating on that fistula, I severed your sphincter muscle. You're going to have some problems throughout your life. Well, what was I going to ask? What kind of problems was that? I mean, he already had shut me down. So I left that office with a very negative outlook on doctors, on a condition that plagued me for 40 years with incontinence. And it was a nightmare. And I realized that, of course, through the years, I got better health care. I went to better university, major establishments and medical hospital organizations. But I've learned that I was victim of a total lack of empathy. And around 2017, the Langone School of Medicine at New York University started a program called the Empathy Project. And they train doctors, caregivers, nurses, all medical people to know how to talk with empathy, treat their patients with empathy. And so many administration positions have opened up for the patient-centered and family-centered care that everyone has a right to achieve and everyone deserves in our living our best life. So you can go online and you could find even training videos from Langone where there'll be a scenario where two actors probably are, one is the patient and he's saying, boy, doctor, I was really waiting a long time. And the doctor will respond, well, I got a big practice and, you got to wait your turn. And then they'll replay the scenario with empathy and the way it should be with the doctor, for example, saying, well, I really appreciate your patience. I know this was not easy and I'm sorry. We'll do better next time, hopefully. So empathy projects are blossoming all across the country. Very, very, very important. So I want to say that we can't carry that negativity and grudge with us. We have to overcome it as best we can, hopefully with exploration into better medical care, knowing the best institutions for our specific ailment. We need to know, are we in the right place? And apparently I wasn't when I started out early on. And part of that was because I was 19 and I was inexperienced. How would I handle it now? I would have gone right into New York City, left that college town, and I would have sought the best care. The outcome might have been the same. It might have been that was a difficult surgery and the outcome might have been the same, but my options and my treatment and my emotional and mental reaction would have been a lot healthier, for sure.
And I think this is something that's pretty critical to talk about is the emotional toll that we go through when we do run into this kind of thing. And because some doctors not providing you with the support that you need, it's okay to say, I'm going to step aside and find someone else, which kind of leads me into my scenario that I'm going to talk about here. Is recently I had some health issues that arose and I needed to find a new pulmonologist. And let's just get real. When you're talking about your lungs and your lung health, and then you tell a doctor that you're using medical cannabis, that's a little bit of a turnoff to a doctor today because they don't understand medical cannabis. They don't even understand the endocannabinoid system. So he immediately just shut me down and said that, you need to change what you're doing. And I kept trying to explain to him, I write an effective cannabis newsletter to talk about this. And he just was not going to have it. And so I walked away from that appointment just very devastated. And the things that he wanted to talk about were very surprising. He wanted to know about my colon cancer, which I do not have. And then he wanted to talk about my heart disease, which I do not have. So I was confused of why we were going down this track. Well, apparently my medical records were wrong. And so some information had been put on them that wasn't correct. So this sent me off onto a journey trying to figure that out. So it's really important that your medical records are correct and they're accurate. So you need to make sure you're keeping an eye on them all the time. Just because you have a comfort with your doctor, your main provider, doesn't mean something can't end up on that incorrectly. And I'm still in the process of fighting that. But one of the things I would do different today with my doctor as a pulmonologist is I would take my articles that I have written and give them to him and ask him to please read this. I've been doing this for 9 years. So it's not like I'm not an expert in what my health is. I am. And I'm doing something that they were never able to do over 3 decades, and I gave them the opportunity. So it's important to make sure that they listen to you. And if they don't, and I just made the decision, I will not be going back there. I have the right to decide which doctor I want to use, and I have the right to expect them to want to partner with me. And I have the right to just completely say, I don't need a doctor. So, just because everybody's pushing you in a direction, make sure you're true to who you are and what you need, because no one knows their body better than you do. I'm not saying everybody should do this alone by any means. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is trust you. Trust what you know about yourself and about your body. Listen to it. It speaks to you on a daily basis. Sometimes it's whispers and sometimes it screams. Don't ignore it. Move forward with what you need to do to protect your health, because like I said earlier, no one lives your health but you. So thank you, ladies, for all that. I think that was very, very important information that we shared. So now we're going to echo into the transformation. So curiosity sparks the question, but what turns those questions into lasting change? Let's talk about the power tool behind it all, self-reflection. To round out our segment, what role does self-reflection play in transforming curiosity into actionable health improvements? Lisa?
Well, it plays a big role, Debbie, a big role. I think self-reflection is like, if you think about it, it's like the secret sauce that turns curiosity into real health improvements. Because it's not just about being curious, it's about taking the time to understand what that curiosity reveals about your health. It helps you to identify patterns. Maybe you notice that you always feel sluggish after certain meals, or that a particular activity always lifts your spirits. But by reflecting on these observations, you can pinpoint what works for you and what doesn't, and it allows you to set clear goals. Curiosity might lead you to wonder why you're always tired, but through self reflection, you can explore possible causes like, is it sleep habits or stress levels, and then set specific actionable goals to address them, such as improving your sleep hygiene or practicing relaxation techniques. And then self reflection helps you stay accountable. And by regularly checking in with yourself, you can track your progress and adjust as needed, because it's kind of like having a personal health coach in your head, cheering you on and keeping you on track. And self reflection turns your curiosity into a powerful tool for health improvement. It's really the bridge between wondering about your health and taking the steps to enhance it. You can take some time to reflect, listen to your body, and then turn those curious thoughts into actions that lead to a healthier you.
So Lisa, I want to ask you, we're talking about a secret sauce. Do you have a name or a type of sauce that you would like to call that?
Well, like my sauces change because if it was just one name, then I would get bored easily. I'm a Gemini, so they have to have multiple sauces for different things. It's a good
Love
question.
that. That's what keeps your curiosity going. So thank you. So Amy, uh, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, um, I just want to inject one little trivia thing that has nothing to do with anything. But when people get together and have empowering conversations, like we're doing, Echo, empowering conversations of hope and opportunity, there's so many things we discover about each other, and they're so healthy, and they could be so silly. So, Debbie, my first dog was named Buster also. Now, what are the odds that we both had a Buster in our lives, a little canine Buster? And Buster and I did not get along. I cried my eyes out. He eventually snapped at my cousin who bothered him when he was eating, and my mother got rid of Buster, had to go to another home. But, one little capsule of one little shared laugh can just make a day so much more pleasant. So the role of self-reflection in transformation, where we go, like Lisa said, we go from curiosity into orbit here. I want to highlight, watch your words, watch your choice of language, watch your self-talk, watch how you throw words around. If you say I'm depressed, I think once somebody is saying I'm depressed, and I don't want to, cast a shadow or lack of a compassion on someone who has clinical depression and they are truly depressed. But even so, maybe the language could be a little bit different. I'm having a rough day. Um, I'd like maybe to talk to you a little bit about it, uh, or just to give a cue, but not to use always language that negatively pigeonholes you into a certain mindset. We have to elevate our mindset for the potential joy in every single day. We have to give ourselves that self-empathy and self-compassion to not keep beating ourselves into the ground. Our mental health is so important now, and perhaps in our country more so than it's ever been. I think we can wake up every day and say, what is one good thing I can do to promote my health today? My health is my joy. So that's self-reflection alone, even if it's drinking another glass of water so we don't get dehydrated. And I live in Florida, so drinking water is always something I'm pushing and pushing myself to do. So many people wind up in the hospital and they find out they're dehydrated. Something as simple as that to fuel and keep our bodies in the best order that they can possibly be. I also think self-reflection might lead to the curiosity of trying other things. Um, there's acupuncture, there's sound therapy, there's chiropractic, there's cannabinoids, there are the support groups. There are so many things. There's such a variety that if you haven't tried it, so self-reflect and say, well, why haven't I done this? Other people are having wonderful results. Why haven't I tried it? It's not one size fits all, but the curiosity can bring you there and even introduce you to a whole new group of people, people who maybe love soccer as much as you do. And it doesn't always have to be focused on what's wrong. It can be focused on not always the weakness, but what else do you share? What else do you have in common? I think that's so important. So the transformation is happening every day. We don't have to settle to be lonely. We don't have to settle to be confused or lost, because the resources are out there, and the human resources and the networks are by far the most important to help us transform together.
Transform together. I like that. Thank you. So this is not going to be any surprise to anyone here. For me, looking back and reflecting on what I've learned has been critical in where I am now. And when I think about self-reflection, it helps turn curiosity into real health improvements, as I picture 4 characters, one of each teaching something different, a piece of a reflection puzzle. Alice in Wonderland is where it starts. She's my inner explorer. She reminds me to stay curious, to ask questions, and to not settle for normal when something else feels off. Reflecting through Alice's eyes is about giving myself permission to wonder. Then there's my Princess in the Pea. She shows up when I sit with my body and ask, what's this discomfort telling me? She teaches me that even the smallest signal matters. And self-reflection is about turning it in and honoring in your body's whispers before they become screams. Who could forget Goldilocks? It's the part of me that experiments when I reflect, and I am looking for that one size for me. That's just right. That takes a trial and error and honesty and grace. And it reminds me that the journey is part of the healing. And we'll round it off with Humpty Dumpty. He's the real MVP of self-reflection. Because sometimes things break, like me. When I fell apart, but it was through reflection when I learned how to rebuild, often stronger than before. And he represents resilience, recovery, and wisdom with that I've gathered from all the experiences that I've gone through. So reflection isn't just looking back. It's how we connect the dots between curiosity and change, like Lisa said. It's how we turn insights into action. And sometimes we need a fairy tale to remind us just how powerful that process can be. So, ladies, do we have anything that we want to add or follow up with here?
I would like to just play devil's advocate for a minute and just say that in researching and thinking about the topic of curiosity, there's a wealth of information. And I had pause when I came across some material that talks about roadblocks to curiosity, roadblocks. And one of them was typical of that doctor who told me, silence it, you ask too many questions. That's arrogance also. That really, I should be over it, but that experience was so impactful on me at 19. So some of the roadblocks are that we're taught, don't ask questions, keep in your place, be a good child. Don't ask grandma and grandpa that right now. Don't do that. I was told when I started my teaching job, piece of advice I was given was don't make waves. Well, how would I make waves? Asking questions, having a voice. So there's a book by Jack Canfield called The Aladdin Factor, and it's all about the importance of asking questions at home, at work, in the house, and about the roadblocks to how we're conditioned often not to ask questions. It's fascinating. And if we're aware of that, we'll be aware of the people who are the barriers in our own lives, and we might do something to change that dynamic. I think that's important to be aware of in our self-reflection.
I also think that one of the things that plays a part in here is I think most people, when they're a kid, they go to their parents and say, "Oh, mom, dad, grandma, whoever, my knee hurts," like Lisa was talking about. And so many times our parents will say, "Oh, well, we'll wait a few days and it'll go away." And I'm not sure that's the real best answer that we need to give. Yes, we need to look at it and see if a few days will help, but teaching our kids to be in tune with their body, to be able to express about how they feel about their body, and teaching them how they can then communicate that with someone else is really important. And is a big piece of what I work on, because I think we have the ability to teach our kids to be more in tune with their body, to be more curious about it, and how to improve their health and quality of life. So I think that that's a really important piece that you brought in there, Amy, and feeling that comfort. And a lot of it comes back to fear as well. Lisa, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
The only other thing I'd like to add is more like of a call to action is just for everyone to continue with their curiosity and continuing exploration. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, exploration should never end. I think that when we become adults, a lot of times we throw that away and we just try to follow and model after someone else. We watch so much stuff and content on social media today, and we want to be like someone else. No, you want to be you. You want to be the unique person that you are. And it's your curiosity that brings that to life. And your exploration will allow you to be that person. Don't look to be someone else. Look to be you. Engage in your health. When you learn to engage with your health and be more curious about it is when I find you become a more healthier, wiser person about who you are. Does it mean that it fixes everything? Absolutely not. Am I perfectly healthy? Absolutely not. But I would take this life I have right now every day over the decades that I lived before. Being able to be here and share this conversation and communicate with all of you is so important. I live for today, and I hope you live for today. You live for today for who you are. So, we'd really like to invite your feedback and your information of what you thought of this show. So if you would like to connect with us, you can reach out to us at Echo Together. That's Echo the number 2, Gether, Gether, on social media or through Gmail. So please, we'd love to hear what you think about these conversations. We would love to invite you in to have comments, and we would love to answer your questions, because I'm sure that we spark lots of curiosity in these conversations when we have them. So join us again next time. We can't wait to see you. And let's keep exploring curiosity and see how we can improve our quality of life and our day, each one of us. Thank you all for joining us.